The phone rang at 2 a.m., and Margaret's voice was shaking with terror. Her 78-year-old father, Frank, had become a ghost in his own life. After losing his wife of 53 years, this retired carpenter who once mentored apprentices and hosted neighborhood barbecues had retreated into dangerous isolation. The silence in his voice during weekly calls terrified Margaret more than any health emergency ever could. But what happened next changed everything. Within 8 months, Frank built a global network of meaningful relationships without leaving his comfort zone or changing his introverted nature. If you've always preferred deeper conversations to small talk, or if circumstances make traditional socializing challenging, you need Frank's complete story. Today, I'm revealing 6 proven methods that help Frank and thousands of introverted men over 60 build rich social lives from home. Stay until the very end because Frank's final transformation into a worldwide mentor will show you exactly what's possible. Subscribe now and hit that bell because this could revolutionize your understanding of connection after 60. Method 1. Harness the power of scheduled video conversations. The first method that began Frank's transformation, and the one that creates the fastest results, is establishing regular video conversations with the people who matter most in your life. Now, I know some of you are thinking, I'm not comfortable with all this technology, or my family's too busy for regular calls. But what I'm about to tell you will change how you think about both technology and family relationships. Here's something most people don't realize about modern families. Everyone is craving deeper connection, but nobody wants to be the one to make the first move. Your children are juggling demanding careers and raising their own families. Your grandchildren are growing up in a world that feels increasingly disconnected despite being more connected than ever before. They're all waiting for someone to create the space for genuine, meaningful interaction. The key to making video conversations work isn't about mastering complicated technology. It's about creating predictable, comfortable routines that everyone can anticipate and prepare for. When you establish a regular time for these calls, something magical happens. Instead of awkward, obligatory check-ins, these become genuine opportunities for multi-generational storytelling, advice sharing, and relationship building. Let me tell you about David, a 70-year-old retired postal worker from Michigan. After his wife, Helen, passed away, David felt completely disconnected from his daughter, Susan, and his 2 teenage grandsons who lived in Texas. Their occasional phone calls were brief and uncomfortable, filled with long silences and stilted conversation. Everything changed when Susan suggested they try weekly video calls on Saturday mornings. David was initially resistant, worried about learning to use his tablet for video calling, but Susan patiently walked him through the process, and they started with just 15-minute calls. Something beautiful began to happen during those Saturday mornings. David started preparing for the calls by thinking of stories from his postal route, questions about his grandson's interests, and updates about his small garden. The boys began showing their grandfather their school projects, their musical instruments, and even their girlfriend drama. Within 3 months, those 15-minute calls had naturally extended to over an hour. David became genuinely invested in his grandsons' lives, offering advice about part-time jobs, listening to their concerns about college applications, and sharing stories about their father's teenage years that Susan had never heard. The visual connection allowed them to share experiences in ways that phone calls never could. The psychological impact of seeing faces during conversation cannot be overstated. When we look into someone's eyes, even through a screen, our brains release the same bonding hormones that create intimacy and face-to-face interactions. Regular video conversations create what researchers call sustained presence, meaning your family begins to feel emotionally close even when you're physically apart. Method 2. Become a remote guide and mentor. The second method that transformed Frank's sense of purpose, and one that often surprises people with its immediate impact, is sharing your lifetime of knowledge and experience through remote mentoring and volunteering. This approach addresses something crucial that many men over 60 struggle with: The feeling that their hard-earned wisdom and expertise are no longer valued or needed? Here's a truth that might shock you. While you've been worrying about becoming irrelevant in a rapidly changing world, younger generations are desperately searching for exactly what you have to offer: perspective, experience, and wisdom that can only come from decades of living, working, and overcoming challenges. Think about everything you've learned throughout your career, your relationships, your financial ups and downs, your parenting experiences, and your personal growth. You've made mistakes, learned from them, and developed insights that could save someone else years of struggle. This knowledge isn't just valuable, it's essential for people who are facing similar challenges for the first time. Let me share the story of Robert, a 68-year-old retired high school principal from Ohio. After retirement, Robert felt increasingly useless as education seemed to move beyond his understanding with new technologies and teaching methods. His decades of experience working with teenagers and managing schools felt obsolete in a world of online learning and digital classrooms. Everything changed when Robert discovered mentorship opportunities through his local small business administration office. They connected him with young entrepreneurs who were starting educational businesses but had no experience managing people, dealing with difficult situations, or building sustainable organizations. Robert's first mentee was Jennifer, a 29-year-old woman starting a tutoring service for struggling students. What Robert discovered was remarkable. While the technology had changed, the fundamental challenges of leadership, communication, and building trust remained exactly the same. Jennifer desperately needed someone who understood how to motivate people, resolve conflicts, and make difficult decisions under pressure. Robert's decades of experience became invaluable to her success. Comment below with the number 2 if you've ever mentored someone informally. Maybe helped a neighbor with a project or gave advice to a younger family member. I read every comment because your experiences matter. And don't forget that the most powerful part of today's video is still coming at the end, through weekly video calls and email exchanges. Robert began guiding Jennifer through the challenges of entrepreneurship. But something unexpected happened. As Jennifer's business grew and succeeded, Robert rediscovered his own sense of competence and purpose. He wasn't just killing time or staying busy. He was making a genuine difference in someone's life and career. Within 18 months, Robert was mentoring 4 different business owners and had become one of the most requested mentors in his region. His house transformed from a quiet retirement retreat into a headquarters for meaningful professional relationships that span generations. Method 3. Create digital communities around your passions. The third method involves finding your tribe in the vast world of online communities. And this approach often becomes the most addictive and engaging for men who discover it. Unlike random social gatherings where you might struggle to find common ground, digital communities are built around specific shared interests, experiences, or knowledge areas. The beauty of online communities lies in their specificity and accessibility. Whether you're passionate about restoring vintage motorcycles, fascinated by Civil War history, interested in woodworking techniques, or dealing with specific health challenges, there are communities of people who share your exact interests and understand your perspective at a depth that geographical neighbors might never achieve. What makes these communities particularly valuable for men over 60 is that they operate on merit and knowledge rather than age, appearance, or social status. Your decades of experience, your hard-won expertise, and your unique perspective are genuinely valued and actively sought after. Younger community members often specifically look for guidance and mentorship from older, more experienced participants. Let me tell you about Charles, a 72-year-old retired electrician from Arizona who had always been passionate about vintage radio restoration. After retirement, Charles felt like his hobby was becoming obsolete as fewer people understood or cared about old electronics. He spent hours alone in his workshop, fixing radios that nobody seemed to want or appreciate. Everything changed when Charles discovered online forums dedicated to antique radio restoration. Suddenly, He found hundreds of people from around the world who shared his exact passion. These communities weren't just casual interest groups. They were serious collectors, restorers, and enthusiasts who genuinely appreciated Charles's decades of electrical knowledge and restoration experience. Charles began participating in forum discussions, answering technical questions, sharing photos of his restoration projects, and eventually offering to mentor newcomers to the hobby. What started as casual participation evolved into genuine relationships with people who truly understood his passion and valued his expertise. The psychological impact was profound. Charles rediscovered his sense of identity as an expert craftsman rather than just a retired worker. He began taking on more challenging restoration projects, not just for his own enjoyment, but to share the process and results with his online community. His workshop transformed from a place of solitary tinkering into a classroom where he could teach and inspire others. Here's your practical roadmap for finding these communities. Start with your deepest interests or professional background. Search Facebook groups using your interests plus terms like enthusiasts, collectors, or professionals. Explore Reddit communities, called subreddits, which host some of the most detailed and knowledgeable discussions on virtually every topic imaginable. Don't let the platform intimidate you. The learning curve is worth the incredible connections you'll discover. Remember, your goal isn't just to consume content, but to contribute your unique knowledge and perspective to communities that will genuinely appreciate what you have to offer. Method 4. Reconnect with your personal history. The fourth method involves reaching back into your personal history to rebuild connections with people who once played important roles in your life. This approach works because it builds on relationships that already have a foundation, shared experiences, and mutual understanding that took years to develop originally. Think about the people who mattered to you at different stages of your life: military service buddies, former work colleagues, childhood friends, college roommates, neighbors from previous homes, or people you met through clubs, sports, or shared activities. These individuals carry pieces of your personal history that no new relationship can replicate. They remember different versions of you, different dreams you had, and different challenges you overcame together. The psychological power of reconnecting with old friends lies in what researchers call biographical continuity. These relationships help you maintain a complete sense of identity across your entire lifespan, rather than feeling defined only by your current circumstances or recent years. Old friends remember your younger self, your aspirations, your humor, your strengths, and your unique qualities that might have gotten buried under decades of responsibilities. Let me share the remarkable story of Kenneth, a 67-year-old retired bank manager from Florida. After his divorce 3 years ago, Kenneth felt completely disconnected from his past and uncertain about his future. One evening, while organizing old documents, he came across a reunion letter from his high school class that he had ignored years earlier. That letter made him think about his closest friend from high school, Michael, who had been his best man at his wedding 45 years ago. They had gradually lost touch as careers and family responsibilities took them in different directions, but Kenneth had often wondered what had become of his old friend. Using a combination of social media searches and online directories, Kenneth eventually located Michael in Oregon. Kenneth spent days crafting the perfect email. Worried that Michael might not remember him clearly or might not be interested in reconnecting after so many decades of silence, Kenneth needn't have worried. Michael responded within hours, absolutely delighted to hear from his old friend and eager to catch up on 4 decades of life experiences. Their first phone call lasted nearly 4 hours as they shared stories about their careers, their families, their divorces, their health challenges, and their current interests and concerns. What amazed both men was how easily their conversation flowed, as if they had spoken last month rather than last decade. They discovered that despite taking completely different life paths, they had faced remarkably similar challenges and had developed similar perspectives about what truly mattered in life. That initial reconnection led to weekly phone calls, regular email exchanges, and eventually an in-person visit that rekindled a friendship that has become central to both men's emotional well-being and social connection. Method 5. Welcome a companion animal into your life. The fifth method might provide the most immediate and consistent daily connection, welcoming a companion animal into your home and routine. While pet ownership requires serious consideration and isn't right for everyone, for the right person in the right circumstances, a companion animal can provide unconditional affection and daily purpose that no human relationship can match. Animals offer something unique in the relationship spectrum: pure, uncomplicated affection without judgment about your age, your energy levels, your social skills, or your past mistakes. What they provide is genuine emotional support and a sense of being needed that can transform your daily experience from empty routine to purposeful caregiving. There's also something profoundly therapeutic about caring for another living being. Animals create structure in your day through feeding schedules, exercise needs, and care routines. They provide a reason to get up in the morning, a source of physical affection, and often become conversation starters that connect you with neighbors and other pet owners in your community. Let me tell you about Walter, a 73-year-old retired mechanic from Kansas. After losing his wife of 48 years, Walter felt overwhelmed by the silence and emptiness of their house. He had never been particularly sentimental about animals, always seeing pets as his wife's domain while he focused on practical matters like home maintenance and car repair. But the loneliness became unbearable, and Walter's neighbors suggested he visit the local animal shelter, not necessarily to adopt, but just to spend time around living creatures at the shelter. Walter met Bruno, a 6-year-old German shepherd whose elderly owner had recently passed away. Bruno was calm, well-trained, and seemed as lost and lonely as Walter felt. The shelter staff explained that older dogs often make perfect companions for older adults because they're past the destructive puppy phase, but still have years of love and companionship to offer. More importantly, they understand loss and transition in ways that younger animals might not. Comment with number 5 if you've ever experienced the healing power of animal companionship. I love hearing these stories, and they often inspire other viewers who might be considering this option. Walter's decision to adopt Bruno created immediate changes in his daily routine and social connections. Bruno needed walks twice daily, which got Walter outside and moving regularly. Neighbors who had never spoken to Walter before began stopping to pet Bruno and chat. The dog's needs provided structure to Walter's days, and caring for Bruno gave him a sense of purpose and responsibility that had been missing since his wife's death. Most importantly, Bruno's constant presence filled the house with life again. Method 6. Engage with interactive learning communities. The sixth and final method involves entering the expanding world of interactive learning and audio communities through podcasts, audiobooks, online courses, and discussion groups. This approach is perfect for men who enjoy learning new things, prefer listening to reading, and want to engage intellectually with subjects that fascinate them. The world of educational content has exploded beyond traditional classrooms into accessible, engaging formats that invite participation in community building. Many podcast hosts actively encourage listener interaction through emails, social media, or dedicated discussion forums. Online learning platforms create communities where students interact with instructors and fellow learners regardless of age or location. Unlike passive television consumption, these learning communities invite your active participation, intellectual engagement, and genuine contribution to ongoing discussions about subjects you care about. Your life experience and accumulated knowledge become valuable assets in these educational conversations. Let me give you a concrete example of how this works. Suppose you're interested in American history. You might start listening to podcasts like American History Tellers or the American Revolution podcast. Many of these shows have active communities where listeners discuss episodes, share additional historical resources, ask questions, and debate different interpretations of historical events. As you participate in these discussions, you'll begin to recognize regular contributors, develop relationships with fellow history enthusiasts, and often discover that your own knowledge and perspective contribute significantly to these conversations. Your memories of historical events you lived through, your understanding of how past events connect to current situations, and your accumulated wisdom become genuinely valuable contributions to these learning communities. Many universities now offer free online courses with discussion components through platforms like Coursera, edX, and Khan Academy. These courses provide access to college-level content on virtually any subject while creating opportunities to interact with learners from around the world. The discussion forums allow you to engage with both instructors and fellow students, sharing insights and learning from diverse perspectives. Book clubs have also moved online, operating through video calls, discussion forums, or dedicated platforms. Whether you prefer historical biographies, mystery novels, spiritual texts, or technical subjects, there are online reading communities that meet regularly to discuss their reading and explore ideas together. Here's what I want you to try right now. Comment below with number 6 if you're already listening to podcasts regularly, or tell me what subject you'd most like to learn more about. I read these comments and often discover fascinating new learning resources based on your recommendations. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because the story I'm about to share will show you how powerful these methods become when you combine them strategically. The key to success with interactive learning communities is choosing subjects that genuinely fascinate you rather than just looking for social interaction. Final thought? Now let me tell you what happened after that terrifying 2 a.m. phone call. Frank didn't just try one method. He systematically implemented all 6 over 18 months, and the results will astound you. Frank started with video calls to his grandchildren, discovered online woodworking communities where his 60 years of experience made him an instant expert, then began mentoring young carpenters remotely. He reconnected with 3 Vietnam buddies, adopted senior rescue dog Max, and became a respected voice in military history podcast discussions. But here's the remarkable part. Frank transformed from dangerous isolation into a connection hub for hundreds of people worldwide. He now mentors 12 apprentice carpenters, advises 3 nonprofit building projects, and has been interviewed by university students researching Vietnam experiences. His house receives daily calls and emails from people who value his friendship and expertise. Margaret's father proved that loneliness isn't about circumstances, it's about connections. He honored his quiet, thoughtful nature while building meaningful relationships that span generations and continents. Your wisdom and experience are desperately needed. Start with one method, commit to 6 weeks, then gradually add others. If this inspired you, hit like and subscribe. Comment which method you'll try first. I respond personally because your connection journey matters. Remember, your most important relationships might be just one conversation away.